So we're talking about guitars, right?
We are. Troy McLaggan, all the way from Fredericton. Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk, Molson Coors. So just before we started the segment, you picked that up and I went, ooh. You said there's a lot of history behind that guitar. Why don't you let us in on that?
When I was just getting out of high school, I bought this guitar. That would have been I think I bought it in around 82. And this is a 1977 Les Paul Custom. And so the guitar wasn't that old then. And I bought it and went, this is the guitar I took first on the road with the country band that I mentioned earlier on our other segment. So playing a Les Paul in a country band. And then this is the guitar I also took with me then when I joined with the Hennessy Brothers and did that band and went out west. And this was the guitar, man. This is I wore this guitar out and then we had to replace a lot of the parts and stuff. And eventually whammy bars became dominant. And I had to get a guitar with whammy bars and I had no money. So I ended up trading this guitar in on a Stratocaster. And a buddy of mine ended up buying the guitar and he took it to his studio and had it for, I don't know, 20 years maybe. And he sold it back to me about 4 years ago, I guess. And so I have it back. So this is my very first, I had a high school picture. I'm such a nerd with guitars. One of my high school pictures, man, was with me with this guitar. So I'm really happy to have it back. It's still got one of the original pickups here in the neck position. And this is a period appropriate humbucker that's put in the back. I had some kind of shred pickup. I think it was a DiMarzio Super Distortion 2 or something that sounded terrible, but got the amp working. So it's back to closer to its original spec, some modifications here. I don't know if you can see that on the knobs, but yeah, this thing is a rock. I just love this guitar.
There's something about a nice chunk of wood that like the Les Pauls and the SGs and those, the Gibsons are just, they'll throw your shoulder up to sling them over your shoulder, but they just sound so amazing. Oh, yeah.
Well, especially the mid 70s ones, like Randy Rhoads played, and they had the mahogany body, but they had an uncarved maple top. So they're the heaviest, I think, Les Pauls that they ever made. And that's what I played back in those days, man. I was like 140 pounds, 135 pounds soaking wet. Yeah. And I was playing that guitar every night, but you get used to it, right? That's just, to me, what a guitar weighed. And somebody passed me a Stratocaster. I thought, you gotta be kidding me. How can this thing work? It's so light in comparison. But yeah, they're both completely different animals, but I still love that guitar.
Well, and obviously, in the 70s and 80s, that was one of the weapons of choice, the early 80s, I'll say, was sort of those shredder guys started coming out, and that started to be, I guess, the way, people wanted to be able to get easier up the neck and have more frets and a lighter, guitar and whatnot, and you started seeing more of what was out there. But I'm a purist, man. I don't even play guitar, just a Les Paul when I see it. I just love the look of it.
Yeah. 100%. Like I said in the other segment, Jimmy Page has always been a hero of mine. I think that was probably the big inspiration of me even getting a Les Paul. What did I know when I was 16 or 17? I just wanted a cool guitar. So I got the Les Paul because, like you, that when I think electric guitar, that's the image I have in my mind, man, is what that looks like. So there's a lot of guitars are so interesting that way because it's not just a tool. It's something that you've got this mental image of, you develop a relationship with, and psychologically or even physically how it sounds. And when I pick that guitar up, it feels like my hands grew around that neck. So, there's a lot about guitars that are kind of less definable, but certainly occupy a big space in our consciousness. That's for sure.
So when you got that back, did it feel the same as you remember?
Yeah. No, it was with a buddy here in Fredericton, actually. So I used to go to his place from time to time and play it. I lived in Toronto then, but when I came home, it would be, I'd go visit him and that guitar would be there. And it felt like it always did. It never really lost its flavor with me.
Well, I remember the story of when Eddie designed his personalized guitar, and they brought it to him, and he was like, "This is terrible." And they actually had to go laser image the neck for all the wear spots and everything because that was what the feel was like to him. And people don't understand that. Ryan Woodrow, that plays bass in my band, he'll say, "Yeah, I got a new bass," and it's like, that looks like the old bass, and and it's always like a 60 something. But he likes that vintage look. He likes that vintage feel.
Absolutely.
And people don't understand. It's kind of like sitting in a comfy chair, man. Once you get it worn in, you don't want to, new is good, but doesn't feel as good as the old one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's even stuff that you do on some instruments that you tend not to do on others. And that's, there's others. So it cross-pollinates. I've had a bunch of guitars here because in a recording situation, there's a lot of call for different sounds and different so you need a lot of tools at your disposal, but there are certainly, those guitars you really love. That happens to be one for me. I've also got hang on, I'll get it for you.
Yeah. So while Troy's getting this, and I mean, you can see there, he's just got so many different guitars, and that would be the what do you call that? The Cream Stratocaster. What year is that now?
This is, I think it's around 95.
Okay.
I've had the neck off of this a couple of times. I always forget to check. I think it's mid 90s, we'll say, early to mid 90s.
Okay.
It's a American Stratocaster Deluxe with the lace sensor pickups in it. So this is another of my favorite guitars because it's so different than the Les Paul. But I can really play this one because I've played it so much. It's got a number 5 on it because I really like auto racing too. And I had a chance to meet Mario Andretti.
Oh, cool.
And he signed not this neck. I have another neck for this guitar, but he signed the back of the headstock. So this is my Mario guitar. And number 5 was his most winning Grand Prix number. So I put that, just a little letter set on the front of it there. Yeah, but this is they couldn't be more different, really, a Stratocaster and a Les Paul. Other than being electric guitar, it's got kind of where the similarity ends. I mean, there's a lot you can do with the Strat, and it always sounds like a Strat, I've recorded metal albums with Strats, man. I played lead guitar in a bunch of heavy records that I didn't do a lot of rhythm on, but Stratocaster cuts through and delivers every single time. Yeah,
we have 8 bars of shred and 500 notes and 20 seconds, and that would be it right there.
Yeah, the Les Paul works a lot in those environments too, but it's a beefier tone that I don't know. I mean, when I play the Les Paul, I hear bigger, slower lines, which is appropriate sometimes, but like you said, full shred, man, 100 miles an hour. This is the guitar right here.
For sure. And you know what? I mean, I hate to do the comparison because you never know what you're going to get when you bring it, but that it reminds me of what Yngwie Malmsteen played in the 80s, that cream colored Strat.
For sure. He blew my mind when I heard that. First record I heard was Marching Out, and I've always been a Ritchie Blackmore fan since I've been a kid. So I had kind of experimented with trying to get some of those sounds that Ritchie was getting. I never was really quite successful at it, and then I heard Yngwie and I thought, what? I mean, that's kind of what Ritchie would. This is like Ritchie times like a whole orders of magnitude. And I became a devoted fan of Malmsteen. It was I still love a lot of those early recordings of his. It's the time of that music, I think, is maybe past a little bit, but maybe my affection for that music has passed a little bit. But that guy is a monolith. Like, he is an absolute unique wonder of the guitar world, whether you like him or not, or his music a lot or not. He is, it's just kind of his guitar, that one that's on the Rising Force.
Yeah.
So that's, again, like, it has that psychological space, right? You think, what do I think of when I think Strat? This is it. Ritchie Blackmore had an ivory white guitar too.
Yeah. So I'm going to say a month ago, you sent me a note and you said, look, I'm doing some work with this guitar company, and I take care of them. They take care of me. And you had a video, which we posted a couple times on Barstools, got some great feedback. Absolutely. Those guitars are what?
They're Sire guitars. It's a company, fairly new company. So they started making bass guitars, and Marcus Miller got on board and started helping to promote it, because Marcus Miller was a signature of Fender basses for the longest time. So they started making basses that are a lot like Fender basses, frankly, but they're a lot more affordable, and they're really well-made instruments. So when they wanted to start making 6-string electric guitars, they approached Larry Carlton. And Larry said, yeah, sure. What do you got? And they went through some design ideas and figured it out and how they're going to make it again, an affordable instrument. And they started making Larry Carlton instruments. So they've got his Valley Art Strat style guitar that they make, and they've got a Les Paul style guitar of his, and they've got the 335 that, of course, Mr. 335 is famous for. They made the semi-hollow body, and these guitars they're just great instruments, and it's so encouraging to see a company, any company really, but we're talking about Sire, to make a playable instrument that sounds great, that's not really compromised anywhere, that people can afford. You can go out and buy it and play it and be, have success with it, be able to execute on it, and not feel that, oh, well, I like it, but it doesn't have, or, yeah, it's great, but I have yet to find that with this guitar. I mean, I've used it on a number of different recordings. I've jacked up the saddle and played it for slide. I've Yeah, put it through its paces, and it's delivered. So I'm real happy with it. I'll get that one for you if you want to.
Yeah. And I was just going to mention just before. So Sire, my friend Joe Breen, who's a bass player here in Halifax,
Sure,
he kept telling me about, and he said, right now they're only at Tony's Music. Now I think Fantasy Music in Halifax might be carrying them. Sat down with another friend of mine the other night, a guy named Shaky White that plays in a band called Farewell Town. He swears by their basses. He's got two that he helped design. He's got two more on the way, and just two guys right there that just rave about those instruments.
Oh yeah, we got guys all over town playing them, and they same thing. Like nobody, I keep not expecting, but sometimes you think, oh right, though, okay, this doesn't work as well as maybe I'd like it to. It hasn't happened yet. It's a new guitar, so there's still, you have to keep adjusting the truss rod a little bit, but it's dry here, and there's, I have to do that with my more expensive instruments too. It's just part and parcel, but they make some beautiful stuff.
Well, so you're going to grab that. Hopefully we'll get to hear it a little bit.
Let me just pick it up here. Hang on.
So as you're a guy like Troy in the studio, you've got 1001. It's like the Mr. Dressup's tickle trunk, isn't that right, Troy? He can't hear me, but so that's wow. That is a beautiful guitar. I was just saying, you get it's like Mr. Dressup's tickle trunk there in your studio. Love to hear this sucker because the video was outstanding.
Yeah, this has got it's missing a tooth. Look, it's missing. I got a cat missing one of the volume knobs. Hang on, I'll just plug it in here.
And you're going to play it through what, Troy?
I've got a Mesa Boogie Lone Star combo, 1200 watt combo, and I have also it's a Yamaha T100C amplifier that Mike Soldano designed. So when it came to production, Yamaha made a couple of production choices that Mike said, well, that's not what I designed. So that relationship ended. So I found, or they're available, the schematics for the original Soldano, and I had it put back to what Mike had wanted in the design. Just a couple of changes. There's a reverb circuitry thing, and there's a choke in it rather than resistors. So I did that. So it's effectively a little Soldano single 1200 watt combo. Let me see if I can get one here. Hang on. On the standby.
And we should mention you got your Sire guitar with your Mesa Boogie amp and your Zach Wild best poser with the toque and the beard, and you're looking very
that's right. It's warm, man.
Yeah. I hear you, bro. Wow.
Yeah, man. It's here. That's the neck position, and
sounds fantastic.
Right. It's just a great sounding guitar. They put these Larry Carlton voiced pickups. I forget exactly what the specs are, but they're kind of bright, which I don't really mind. And it has, and I mentioned in the video that you're so kind to post, that it has a treble bleed circuit built in. So if I roll the sound off, I can get it clean, right? And not lose a lot of that top end. So there's a benefit there too. And plus it looks pretty, right?
Oh, that's a great look. And I mean, so if somebody, and I mentioned that you hang your hat at Tony's Music, which carries those guitars. And, it's really funny. I went in there and you guys had a set of V-drum set, and I wailed on them for about 20 minutes. You obviously weren't working that day, but great store. That place has been around forever. Fantastic place. So if somebody's going to roll into Tony's Music and they want to get a guitar like that, what do you think? What's going to set them back ish?
Well, this one at the time of sale, full out, like the price of the minimum advertised price that we sold it at, I think was under $1,000.
Wow.
They started around like $1,079, and they actually dropped in price to under $1,000, which is remarkable. I don't know what the new prices are going to be because production delays. We're still waiting. We have stuff that we've ordered, Sire guitars that we've ordered many months ago that are only due, I think, in April now. So I don't know what they're going to be, and prices are going up all over the place. So, but even if it went up to $1,200, which is unlikely, but if it did, it's still a great guitar at that price.
Oh my God, it's ever. And, for somebody that's looking to get a fantastic instrument and they don't want to pay an arm and like, that's obviously a good way to go.
Oh, just totally. It's got a bone nut, man. It's got rolled edges on the neck. It's got an ebony fingerboard. So it's got all the attributes and, fit and finish of a much more expensive instrument. So there's no compromise really that I can discover. Even the F-hole finishing work looks great. So I just, again, I look at the guitar and go, well, where's the mistakes, or where,
Well, I'm thinking the same thing, and the purists might go, oh, well, it's not a vintage, but I mean, as a dumb drummer who, and I don't want to downgrade it, but I mean, it sounds great. And for somebody, of your caliber and some other guys like Joe and Shaky, who I know that are great players, to be bragging up these instruments, I think says a lot. I mean, they're obviously very well crafted, very well made. Sound fantastic.
Man, there is value, I think, in vintage instrument, like in having that, say a late 60s 335 or something. That's still, it's pretty, I hate the word, but it's iconic. It truly is. It's what inspired this design, in fact. So there's still a great value in that. I love those guitars, I've got a couple of vintage instruments, vintage acoustics, vintage electrics, and they're great. And they have all this personality and legacy and history behind them that is valuable. But I am a working guitar player, and I need stuff that works, that I can depend on, that doesn't cost a fortune. Because if I need to have a 335 sound, I can't afford to go out and buy a vintage 335 or a vintage that, or an ultra rare this, just to get that sound and have that cachet appeal. I want something that I can actually use, that I don't have to spend a fortune for, that isn't substandard.
No question. And you mentioned you don't like the word iconic. I get a couple words I don't like. I don't like the word organic, only because I'm not against the word. It's just I hate when people try to use it and sound smart. They don't use it in the right context. And my other word that I don't like is epidemiology. But anyway, we'll just
right. That's becoming a little right. Holy cow! I mean, I respect it. I celebrate expertise, man. I love it. But holy cow, are we getting tired of that whole conversation?
I'll take words that have been overused for 1,000 this last couple of years. So I guess as we're wrapping here, I'll ask you. So I mean, we said from the get-go when this thing started, some people say they don't like technology, they don't do it like this, they don't like that. Two things I think have been a constant for this last couple of years.
Flipping sideways there a little bit.
Sorry. So I said some people are saying they don't like technology and what have you. Two things I think have been a constant. One, if you're not doing the work when you had the downtime and you go out, other people were, so you might get left in the dust. Two, the technology is out there, whether you like it or not. It's a way to get your everything out there. What would you say to somebody that is maybe anti-technology that, is getting left in the dust because they're not embracing it?
Well, it can be daunting if you don't have a lot or any experience with it. It's there's a pretty steep initial learning curve. I didn't come to computers until I was in my 40s. So, I had to learn a lot about file management, but the information is out there. It's not rocket science. It's just a lot of information. Take it step at a time, find out like how to use Zoom, how to use anything you're going to use to interface with your base, whether it's other players or with your customer base. Find ways to reach those people. And it's going to be technology. It just is. So just accomplish it. Just do it, and it's not impossible. And the information is out there. There's hundreds of people that are willing to help right there, probably in your local situation. Anytime I have a problem, whether it's, like a technology problem, I can call somebody, or somebody will offer you have forums, or there's so many resources that saying that I can't learn it is just, sorry, you can absolutely learn it.
No, I agree. And, it's funny because Barstools, we started that on 2 iPhones. I mean, and, we've gone to cameras and technology, and my drum setup now is I've got more cables and mics than most guitar players do. It's just, and I was one of those guys that went kicking and screaming. But when all this stuff started, it was like, I got a choice. And my choice is I either try to get better or I just lay there and complain, and the world passes me by, and I choked door number one, and you have too. So I want to thank you for doing this, man. And I do tell you, it's long overdue when I get to Fredericton, and hopefully that's really soon. We're going to hook up.
Yeah.
We'll have a pop. We'll maybe grab Barry Hughes and go on that famous Barry Hughes pub crawl that he takes you on.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I'd survive that at my age.
Two things: don't do the pub crawl, don't go on his boat. But that's for another show. Thanks a lot, my friend. Great seeing you.
Thanks,
always.
So appreciate it. That's great.
And if there's anything that you got on the go, why don't you give us one plug for your stuff where people can find you if they want to look you up?
Wow, where can they find me? I'm on Reverb Nation. Troy McLaggan. I've only got a couple of tracks there. You can find me on Facebook, Troy McLaggan Music on Facebook. There was a band that I have, I was going to say had, but we haven't got together since the pandemic started, called 5 Days Later. And we have also a page on Facebook with some music that we recorded there that might interest you. So that's pretty much it. I'm working right now at putting some acoustic guitar selections that I've written. I'm putting them together for release this summer.
Nice.
That I don't even know what releases look like. Do people still release? I mean, are there CDs still, or is it all just singles that people are putting out on Spotify? I mean, I'm kind of investigating that right now, and I'm not really sure which direction to go. But right now, I'm just recording them, so I figure that's going to be done first, no matter what happens next.
I can give you a tip. There's a guy that we signed to RFL Records. His name's Alex Meister. He's from Brazil, and they call him the George Lynch of Brazil.
I think I might have lost you there, Sean.
Sorry, I said there's a gentleman that we signed his name's Alex Meister. He's from Brazil.
Yep. I think we're hung out pretty good.
Uh-oh. Are we? Well, on that note, maybe we'll go. Are we back?
I can see you now. I can hear you. You sending somebody on the RFL Records, and his name is
Alex Meister. He's from Brazil.
Okay.
And he puts singles out, and that's what he does. And a lot of people are finding that the whole, people still do like the product in hand. But sometimes it's just not worth the, it's not worth the mental groceries nor the economic outlay, if you will, to do it. So happy to chat with you about that offline anytime you like, because I've been getting a lot more experience in that.
Yeah, any information I can find, I'm going to use. So I appreciate that.
Right on, sir. Thanks a lot for doing this, Troy.
I certainly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And we're going to see you in Fredericton soon, my man.
I'll be here, man. Looking for you.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll see you next time.
See you later.